No,
Dennis, can you hear us now?
he can hear you, he just.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, the Flemington Borough needs to be unmuted, not the individual mics on the computers. You're good.
Thank you. Now we'll call to order the Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 meeting of the Planning Board, Zoning Board of Adjustment of Flemington Borough. Please rise as you are able to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, I have to say this in-person and virtual meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Both adequate and electronic notice of this in-person and virtual meeting has been provided by way of publication in the Huntingdon County Democrat and Courier News, newspapers on or about January 23rd, 2025 and January 19th, 2025. In addition, notice of the meeting was posted on the door of the Borough of Flemington Municipal Building located at 38 Park Avenue and any handicap accessible entrances thereto, posted on the municipal website, provided to the municipal clerk and distributed to all persons of any requesting copies of the same. This meeting is being recorded with both audio and video and may be rebroadcast. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider and reach a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Thank you. Can we have the roll call, please?
Oh, we have to appoint Carla.
We don't actually, she
You don't?
said,
We did
because she was
resolution
appointed
last
yesterday.
That,
It's
the council doesn't hire the planning board secretary.
So
I
this
got
is,
told two different things.
well, I'm sorry, so this is official now, she's not filling in.
She's temporary. That's what the resolution said last night.
Okay, alright, so then let's make a motion in a second to appoint Carla as our temporary board secretary.
Do we need to do roll call first, or we could do that before roll? Let's do roll call first.
Yes.
Just so we know who's like doing anything.
Ready, Mayor Kara,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasaro. Yeah. Mr. Campion,
Here.
Ms. Giffen,
Here,
Ms. Wetzman. Here. Ms. Swingle,
Here.
Mr. Show,
Here.
Mr. Shangle,
Schlanger.
Schlanger.
Here.
Mr. Doshner, excuse, Mr. Eckel,
Here.
Mr. Hand,
Here.
Attorney, Kaczynski,
Here.
Engineer Clerico,
Here.
Planner McManus,
Here.
and Engineer Troutman is excused.
thank you. So do you want to do an amend the agenda and do this first off the bat before we start the regular agenda?
We can do it however you like, but since it's hers, let's get that out of the way. We do have another amendment that we'll make to address that ordinance, but it's sent out to you.
Should we do both at once?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, so let's make a motion in a second. We're going to amend the agenda to put in place of item 1, a resolution appointing Carla Connor.
Yes.
All right, Carla Connor as our temporary board secretary. I need a motion on that in a second.
A motion.
I'll say.
Okay, so that was,
So that's.
I gotta get used to the voices.
Weitzman.
I'm a little slower.
So Swingle and Weitzman.
A little slower on planning board.
all right, so we're going to amend it to put that as number 1, and we will amend to put under let's do prior to the completeness of public hearing, the board's review of ordinance number 2025-13 for consistency with the master plan. Motion Swingle, second Weitzman, roll call.
Okay, so I start with Weitzman.
Swingle.
Swingle went first. Okay, Ms. Swingle.
Yes.
Ms. Weitzman,
Yes.
Mayor Kara,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasaro,
Yes.
Mr. Campion,
Yes.
Giffen,
Yes.
Mr. Show,
Yes.
Schellinger,
Swingle.
Schlanger.
They get into a movie pretty soon.
Schlanger.
Destiny there, we need to vote. He's on.
He's mute.
There he's coming back. Are we?
Mr. Schlanger,
Looks like he's got mic issues.
Alright,
okay,
we'll come back to him.
Mr. Eckel.
Yes. Yes.
Right,
Oh, there he
Oh, he's back
Yeah,
now.
was yes.
And yes.
Mr. Hand, oh, we only take, okay. Oh, attorney,
They don't vote.
you don't get a vote, okay.
No, right?
They're not professionals. It's all different, it's all different to council.
Trying to get some votes, huh?
No.
Uh,
Alright, perfect, thank you. So that was one, so. The new item 2 is public comments, which is a period for public comments of items that are not currently on the agenda. Is there anybody in person or online? If you're online, please use the raise hand feature to let us know you want to make a comment. I don't actually have anybody.
There's nobody online,
It's
that's
just the panelists, right?
correct.
And there's nobody in the room, so seeing none, we will move swiftly on to a new item 3, which is mayor comments, please.
I have a few, thank you. Number one, I want to thank Carla for offering to do this. We'll see, she's giving it a try, this is, she may hate us all, so.
Be nice.
We'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we'll be trying to move this for secretaries. Number two, now the budget did pass last night on the council. So I would respectfully ask the chair to start the bylaws committee. Because I think they're, for me, they're both major issues. One is that the environmental commission does not have an official place on the agenda and they are statutory by state law. And I think that they should have a position just like HPC does. And number two, possibly in my older age, even more important, that we start, last testimony does not start after 9:30 p.m. so that we can end by 10. So Berry Township does that, and I know that Mr. Campion, has a pretty hard stop at 10 because he gets up so early to be here in the morning. And I think it just would be a kinder and gentler planning board if we don't go till 11, 12, or 1 in the morning as we have in the past. So I would like to see that reconvene or convene a new committee to address especially those two issues. And then finally, I did have a conversation with George Malone at Liberty Village today. He's getting his financing, I think, is now in order, and he did have a big sit down with Bob Clerico this morning. Bob has other things to possibly adjust to the planning board, but he did bring up to me that one of the things that was in the planning board resolution that he agreed to was there's a fence that is to go around the Lone Eagle property on his side of the property where there's gonna be the townhouses, and of course he removed one of them, so it wouldn't be so close to the building. And there were supposed to be large shrubs on both sides of the fence. Reportedly, the owner of Lone Eagle has requested not to have shrubs on his side of the fence because he wants to get more seating in there. And George Malone represented to me that he is more than happy to purchase and have plant those other shrubs anywhere that the borough, my Campion, whoever would like. Just not there, and he really doesn't want to come back to the planning board and have to reopen a hearing and everything else on it. So I'm laying it at your feet as a messenger. So that's it.
Okay. I'll leave it to the professionals to tell us how we can incorporate that effectively and quickly. I'll do that.
Well, one thing that came up today, they did mention, I don't have to break a resolution with me, but apparently the resolution, if I recall, if I'm saying it correctly, is that the resolution says there'll be a fence and there'll be shrubs on both sides of the fence. So you may have to amend the, proceed without the further carry on, but you may have to amend the resolution because that would. But everybody thinks it's a great idea, the resolution says what it says, right?
So it would technically be an amendment to the condition, which we've done many times before.
Okay,
There's a procedure for doing that, and that's what we
Do
want.
we need something from the owner of Lone Eagle saying that he's okay with that change? I mean, because not
Apparently
everything.
they're the ones that
Right,
requested.
Did you hear them requested?
No.
So it's
Before
all,
there's
before we
some-
start having the big long conversation about it, what I would suggest is have the applicant's attorney write us a letter asking what it is that they're looking for. And then we could start delving into
Right.
what we may need, what we may not need, and let's get that to start.
and that will serve that purpose then, if they'll be
Yeah,
clear.
and then I can talk directly with him as to what we may need or what the board may need, or if you want to come, or however it is.
Bob, do you wanna do that and ask George for that, or do you want me to just give George a call and tell him?
Whatever you want.
I'll just call him and text him or something.
And yes, we will start the process of the committees, and feed those two things. I've got a list for that committee as well, ideas want to move forward. And I also want to thank Carla for volunteering to step in on a temporary basis, because it certainly helped me sleep at night. Even my husband was coming, I was getting a little crazy. It was a lot, I'm trying to do my full-time job, this, and make sure everything regulatory was being done, and she's really helped me a lot. Over the last 2 years, we've got things online now, I'm like putting things on the website, I'm like, we're getting there. It's been a big help for us to then transition into whichever way it goes, so I thank you greatly. For my mental health, it's been awesome. Okay, with that, can I move on to?
Yes.
All right, let's move on to new item 4, council comments then, please.
I have no comments, I think we've fleshed them all out.
Okay,
Budget is passed and
excellent.
that moves us forward, that moves this body forward.
I'm presuming because nobody said otherwise, but can I just get clarification that when you said budget passed, was it the planning board's budget passed as I submitted it?
Yes.
It wasn't budget?
Yes,
Just so I know.
and
Okay.
so a comment that I made yesterday evening is that there is this ad hoc planning, zoning thing going on. I don't have any details around it. The last I heard, it has not been sent to Planning Janice, but I did advise that in the council meeting and any billing that has occurred, professional use is to come back to the council, because you did an excellent job of pulling the budget in right here, so
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, and we'll just move along, doing our job, and then doing along, doing a great job with what we're doing. Excellent, thank you. All right, let's move on to new item 5, HPC comments, Dennis.
We had a HPC meeting on April 16th and we approved an addition of a rear stairway at 126 Main Street. And the only other thing I have is just a reminder, we have our historic house tours on Saturday, June 21st from 11 to 5. If anyone's interested in volunteering, you get a free ticket. If interested, let me know at dshoeb, SCHOEB @historicflemington.com. Thank you.
Thank you. New item 6, professional reports. So, we have one for sure, but I'm going to start with Beth then.
I don't have any,
You're first
so
on my list, you don't have
Happy to
one.
pass it right along to her.
All right, so folks,
Lana McManus, do you have a report for us?
I have 2 reports actually.
Oh, I only forwarded one, so.
Well, no, I have one that was not given in advance. So, and that is on affordable housing. I wanna review the outline with the board, which I can make handouts.
Right.
Or not make handouts, but I have handouts that I can give to folks. And then the other one is I wanna address the Spice Factory project
Right,
and the inspection.
okay, sit back.
Okay, here we go. So, I went out to the Spice Factory property to take a look at the site because they're nearing the time of they think being eligible for a TCL. So I wanted to go out and confirm that the building and the site aspects that they're in my jurisdiction as opposed to Bob's.
And that's for
are
phase
correct.
1. of the
Phase
project.
1, yes, correct. Phase 2 is literally not started. That's the new building. So, there are a handful of issues. Some of these I think are more important than others, but I'll run through all of those with the board. So first, there are a variety of site improvements I'm gonna defer to Bob. And so I'm not gonna get involved. I might note that there's a ADA ramp, but I'm not gonna insert myself as to whether that's correct. That's just not part of my expertise. But additionally, there are some concerns that I raised, and I spoke with their project engineer today, so I have a little bit of update compared to what was in the memo that I had written. So first, behind the side of the all of my comments are related to the Spice Factory building itself, not the Legend Salon, much less the building that's not yet constructed. So behind the building, the Spice Factory building, and a little bit off to the side, they had done some site improvements. There's a large areas that are missing grass, and more importantly, missing the hay that they put down to try to get the seating going. I identified that. I understand, I didn't get a chance to double check, but I understand that's actually been corrected already. They put the reseeding hay back down and added grass seed. So I think think that should be on its way. Additionally, on the site plans, there was a row of shrubs basically along the boundary between the Spice Factory and the Herman Cat Apartments. That's the 3-story apartments right there. Those shrubs are not there. I think what actually happened is they were shown on the plan as existing, even though they may not have been, but the reality is they're on the plans, and so they're gonna go forward and replace those. On the front of the building, if folks recall, the building was originally, and then the project was originally proposed to have commercial on the first floor. And then during the course of the application, they lost their tenant and the first floor was converted to residential use, either units or amenity space. And basically, there was a missed landscape plan that should have been provided during the course of the hearing. Because at one point they were showing what was existing shrubs along the front of the building. And then they submitted a revised site design for the front of that building that changed the way the walkways were proposed, or were existing rather, to reflect the fact that it was no longer individual commercial spaces. What should have happened was there should have been a supplementary landscape plan that went with that, and there just wasn't. So the plans, I think, are questionable as to whether or not it should be showing the shrubs that were existing versus, a revised landscape plan. What I've said is, you need to put shrubs in this area, because at a minimum, I have the original plans that show the existing shrubs, and also this is not technical, but it's ugly, so let's add some plants. And they've agreed to provide that. I'm expecting a revised landscape plan to show those
Was
plantings.
that, did we did some disconnect happen because there's the phase 2? Was it like in the phase 2 that, because
I think-
wasn't there supposed to be some sort of little pocket park, I seem to remember on these
Yep,
plans?
and that's
By the
phase 2,
road?
and that's still
phase 2.
planned.
So,
Yeah, and I think that's what happened. It was a mid-application change of use, application change of site plan. And the landscape plan that should have been submitted it just fell through the cracks. But it's clearly in need of plantings. They're blank mulch beds right now, so they're gonna provide those, and they're gonna submit an updated landscape plan that shows that.
okay.
I identified there are a variety of dead trees and shrubs throughout the parking lot, but I will say all of those plants are gonna be removed as part of phase 2. And so my recommendation is that there be no replacement of those dead plants until, assuming phase 2 starts now, so as soon as once it starts within 6 months, I'm comfortable with the dead tree sitting there until the demolition.
Right, it makes sense to do it then.
If phase 2 we're gonna start in several years from now, I think I would have a different recommendation, but the representation, and I think what we can enforce is based upon beginning phase 2, about 6 months after completion of phase 1.
Oh, so they have given you a date for that too?
Yeah, it's unofficial, it's on the phone,
Right,
but that's the
unofficial.
expectation.
But they indicated to you, that's good.
And then the remaining items are building related. So starting with maybe the less complicated, folks remember there are these canopies over the windows. Canopies are not looking great right now. A lot of them are ripped or somehow broken, full, have mold on them. So I've identified those as something that ought to be replaced. Although it's not specifically relevant to the resolution, it just seems appropriate given the nature of the application. They've indicated that they're gonna do that, and that was perhaps planned anyways, but that they're gonna replace those. The roof equipment, if you recall, they came back in for this field change and they showed us a detail that was proposed to screen the equipment so that you would stand on the street, look up, you really wouldn't see it, maybe a little bit through the screening. The way the detail they submitted was, it was a 6-inch of solid material and then 3-inch of air essentially, and then 6 inches of solid material to allow air to pass through. What got installed is closer to 6 inches of air and 3 inches of solid material and 6 inches of air. And so I raised that as a concern because frankly, it means screening is just much less effective for folks that might have driven by. You can see it through.
It's not effective at all.
Especially when the light's behind it, and then if you look at it, you can see everything.
So my expectation is that they're gonna be able to fix that. They're gonna amend the screening, but admittedly, they need to talk to their structural engineer to make sure that the wind load is not gonna be a problem. But my expectation, not my certainty, my expectation is that will be addressed. And then the last item, right, yeah, the last item is still about the upper stories of this building. So we've got the 3 existing Spice Factory stories of brick, and then they did the 2 stories of addition with the top story being a little smaller than the 4th story rather. And so what the renderings had intended was the 4th story would be sort of like a yellowish, like a yellow brick color, and then the top story would be a lighter gray. What has been constructed is the 4th story is gray, and then the top story is almost like a cream color, very light yellow. And my personal opinion is that it just doesn't look great. Not only does it not look great, but more importantly, it's inconsistent with the plans that the board approved. So I flagged that as well. I've talked to their engineer. I think that this can be, I think that the top story can be fixed. I think it could be fixed with a little bit of paint, quite frankly. Their proposal overall is to fix the roof screen, which I'm hopeful that the structural engineer will not indicate as a problem. That they will paint the upper story a grayish color, consistent with the rendering. And for their canopy replacement, they propose to do in black. And so I think the end result of this project could be something that is perhaps better coordinated than it was before the planning board, and from a color perspective, where we've got the brick building, black canopies, gray upper story, and gray top story, maybe not the same color gray, but somewhere in that family. And then the building will have these black windows along with black canopies, and I think that that will look very nice on the project. That's my current thinking. But to be clear, to date, what's officially happened is I issued this memo. John Tillotson, your construction official, has seen it, has reached out, he's gonna ask for my opinion about if and when a TCO, much less a CO, can be issued for the building. I'm in ongoing discussions with our engineer, and ultimately what I'm hoping to get from him is a proposed response that addresses each of these items. In my opinion, the proposed color change, for which would just be the 4th story, which was originally planned for that yellow color and would be gray instead. I think that that one change could result in a nicer looking building. And so that's the update on Spice Factory. I'm hoping to get a response from these folks inside the next week. I think they're pretty motivated because they really want their CO.
Right.
Their temporary CO more likely. And so hopefully this project will be beautiful, and the first building, the Spice Factory building, will be open pretty soon. Or at least occupied, and then of course we'll begin phase 2, and that's how it's this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, it just came to me, so apologies
Please.
for not, but in that same rough location, I forwarded something on to you about somebody worrying about the signage. So I guess
Yeah.
what I can ask you
Mhm.
is, because there is a resolution for what used, the old Rite Aid, now it's Bank of America. The resolution compliance on there, we can check their signages to the resolution, right? And then that,
Yes,
is that something you can follow up on next meeting for me?
yes,
Thank you.
yes, definitely.
I'm sorry to sound a little bit strange, but Beth understands what I mean. Okay, and then the affordable housing?
Well, are there any other questions?
Oh, any questions
Yeah.
for the board on Beth's report?
Or any concerns about what
I
I
just
just
remember,
found?
sorry to interject, I just remember like with the red awnings that we kind of liked the red at one point because we wanted them to pay a little more homage to what it was. So I just am curious as to like if you're happy, because I remember us having that discussion, because at one point they had changed it completely and we didn't like that.
So, and
or
this,
To that
different-
point,
yeah.
what I think you're referring to is, we asked them, their first proposal for
Yeah.
phase 2 was completely different for the
Right.
original phase 2 that was
Yeah.
given. And so we said, we want you to do something on phase 2 that
Right.
more closely matches
Yes.
phase 1.
Right.
Right.
So that doesn't necessarily, that didn't mean that we said that they had to keep the red
No,
on phase
right,
one, we were
yeah.
just saying that phase two had to more
Yes.
close the match, they've
Right.
completely taken out the whole awning
Yeah.
look and it didn't match.
Yeah,
So I think
so
I
I'm.
could be correct if I'm right, that even if they changed the black one, our request was that the two
There's
buildings
lots
kind
of-
of match or sort of look
Right.
like they are in the same family. Because their first proposal, if you
Right,
remember, looked
they
like they
do,
were.
right,
completely
exactly, and that's why we
crazy.
were happy with the.
I think that's what you're remembering,
Yes,
right?
yes. Okay,
So we'll keep an eye on that in phase two, basically.
right.
Yeah, so one of the things I also wanna ask them for, because I'd like to not have this discussion about the phase two building, is I think that this is also an opportunity to confirm any color changes, any concerns about the phase two building, let's just get this done at once.
Right.
Because the project is, I mean, it shares parking, it's clearly part of the same tract. The buildings should be coordinated and complementary to one another, and they don't need to be mirror images, but they should just be complementary. So I see this as an opportunity to make sure that happens and to hopefully just have the conversation once.
Yeah, saves it's less time for us, less time for them, it's exactly right, idea, I love it, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Beth on that? Nope, not seeing anybody raising any hands,
Do you want me to move on to affordable housing?
please.
Okay.
Oh, it looks like we've got props.
I do,
I
I
don't know if he's reaching like.
Well, don't get too excited, it's just a memo.
Oh, that's good.
So this is, it's 3 pages, but I have to say, you guys are in just such good shape. It's unbelievable. You're my lead now for all this stuff.
Can we have that right?
Yes.
I'll put it on the webpage, splash page. We are the easiest town, officially. That's going in my newsletter. Everyone gets a medal.
Do you guys have enough copies or
Do you have enough? Can you share?
One more?
Share if you want.
No, I have more copies here. I just
Oh,
wanted to-
just one more.
Oh, well, you have to.
We'll have one to color.
There we go. All right, so I'm gonna buzz through the first couple of pages, because the stuff is so straightforward. And there's actually very little decision making for the board. Let me just start there. You are in such good shape. Because what I'm doing for most of my towns is having discussions about what new sites we want to zone, and that's just not a discussion that we need to have. So the borough's got 4 components of its affordable housing obligation. Rehabilitation, that number is 74, pretty high, but your third round rehabilitation number was 68, so it's not too different than what we've seen recently. Your first and second rounds, which go from 1993 through, or 1987 through 1999, that number is 38, it's fully satisfied. Your third round, which is from 1999 through 2025, it's 8, it's also fully satisfied. And then your fourth round, which is what we're doing now, from 2025 through 2035, that's 25. And that's also going to be fully satisfied. So on the first page, you see those numbers, and then you see how, and a little bit into the second page, how we satisfied these first and second rounds. So I can get into this if you like, but the bottom line is the borough took a vacant land adjustment early in its second round, actually. And it basically said at that time, hey, we don't have enough vacant and developable land, so they did an adjustment. There's a lot of rules associated with that, but I have to say, it sort of doesn't matter because you ultimately, over the years, fully satisfied that 38 unit first and second round obligation. So even though you took the vacant land adjustment, the relevancy for today is basically nothing. And it's fully satisfied with the variety of projects that you can see listed here, all of which are constructed except for the Union Hotel, and that is under construction. For your third round, you're fully satisfied, but if you look at the table on page 2, you see a project crossed out and one below that's italicized. And so what's happened is when I did your third round plan and satisfied that 8 unit obligation, one of the units I used was for the Luster Dodger Blues project. And for those of you wondering, well, which one is that? Exactly, it hasn't been constructed. And it was approved maybe, I'm not sure, maybe 15 years ago at this point. I was nervous about putting it in your third round plan, let me put it that way. And now 8 years later, it's still not constructed.
Do we have the same, on section 2, Huntington Cut Glass, don't we have the same situation there then?
You do, but they are, it's two things. One, that is a project or that's a site that still remains undeveloped and clearly available for development, unlike the Lester Dodger Blue site, which was, I think, in addition to an existing building.
Okay.
So there's that, but the other component that I think is relevant is, this is part of what's referred to as your unmet need in your first and second rounds, and so it has a lower standard associated with it. And the
Alright.
fact that it wasn't yet completed is of much less, I don't wanna say zero, but it is of much less concern. If the worst case scenario on that is we go through the approval process and the court says, well, that project has not happened yet, so we don't wanna give you credit for it. In which case, I'm gonna say, fine, we're gonna backfill it with surplus credits that I'm gonna get to at the end of this
Okay.
discussion. And then when it does come to fruition, if and when it does come to fruition, and it includes affordable units, we'll get credit then.
Right.
So it's not a fatal flaw by any stretch.
Good to know.
The Lester Dodger Blues, this is satisfying our 8-minute third round obligation. So projects satisfying our actual obligation or the RDP associated with that big land adjustment, those need to be real, it needs to be certain and definitely going to happen essentially. But that project really just doesn't have that going for it, it's very uncertain at best. But that said, we've got a ton of surplus credits, so I brought 2 of the credits from the Spice Factory back into the third round and we're satisfied. Third round is done. And everything is either constructed or under construction, which is fantastic. And so as we get to the fourth round, I just wanna highlight the bottom number, that's the surplus of 64. So when you say, well, I'm not worried if we lose credit for cut glass, that's why. We have so much surplus that we can pull from.
So what's not on this is on Hopewell Avenue, there is a, I'm not sure, Mike Campion may know if it's Easter Seals or who runs it.
It's
but
Eastern Seals, Mayor.
Easter Seals, so it had burned down, it had, I believe, 4 or 5 men in there, living there, burned down, and it was rebuilt for even larger occupancy. And that should reflect, because they count.
Yeah, I will follow up about that. I'm gonna
It's
try
right
to
next to the
realize-
DPW building on Hopewell Avenue.
Okay, that would be great.
And I also don't see on here, we also have the other house on Broad Street, that's women.
Is that Anderson House? Yeah, I have that one in there.
And
That's
isn't
in
there-
the
yeah,
earlier ones. Yep,
Okay,
yeah. But I'll add Easter Seals. There's no, as long as I just need to make sure they've got affordability control or. But I'll work with them to figure out if we can add credit. I don't see why.
okay.
Um,
It's really, you know, a lot of this high density housing that's down in Captive and Cardinal was sold by the prior administration as us needing so much co-op. That we had this, that huge deficit of loans. And Ron, they kept saying to the audience, no, we don't, no, we don't. And here it is in writing, no, we don't,
We understood.
right?
I mean, I have to say, your obligation is so favorable, you know,
I think we're the only municipality in the county that doesn't have a requirement.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true.
But Meriden Townships is so massive, it's gonna really impact the borough
Absolutely.
and the schools.
Yeah, a lot of these suburban municipalities are really going through it right now as they try to find enough sites and mechanisms to meet the obligation.
Well, and it's also a
Timeline.
question of water and sewage.
And that too. And that will no doubt be an issue for
For us.
the state, yeah, and
And
for
for- well,
Clinton.
And for us, because you've got the DEP saying to the RTMUA, you can't expand, and you've got the DCA saying to Raritan Township, you must build all this stuff.
Yeah, and well, I don't wanna solve their problem.
No, but we're the only municipality, it left, the RTM, it serves Three Bridges, Flemington, and Raritan Township,
Mhm.
and we are the only municipality that has capacity. So where are they gonna get their capacity from? So.
On a technical thing on your report, sorry, I know we have a massive surplus, but I think it should be -1, because on section 3, you added in the Spice Factory for 2 instead of 1 because of the loss of the blues. So on 4, you need to take 1 out. 16 of, I know it's just. but
No, I
it's
appreciate
because
that. It'll have to be corrected for the final plan anyway, so I appreciate that.
So we have a surplus of 63.
So we're using, and the things that you don't see on this are some of our redevelopment projects that are in flux, like Cardinal and Captiva. So to the extent that they come to fruition, if they include affordable housing, we'll take credit for them later. But it's great that those projects are in flux and we don't need them at this time, we need this obligation. Maybe we have an issue in 10 years from now for the 5th round, but we can cross that bridge when we get to it.
But they're still obligated to have for.
If they're gonna do, yeah, their redevelopment plans require an affordable housing.
Our,
stock site.
we have an ordinance on the
Right.
books here,
Yeah.
requires 20%, which is higher than the state.
Yeah.
And that's why we're in such good shape.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, big
We
part
got
of
ahead
it,
of it.
yeah, it was under, I think Mayor Edwards did that.
So
And
does
so-
this go as from us, this needs to go officially from us, or does this go from council this?
So, I wanna review one last aspect of your plan first, and then we'll get into procedural. So the final component of the obligation is your rehabilitation number, it's 74, and this is the one thing for decision making. The rules require that your rehabilitation program, your solving of that obligation include sale and rental units. But there's no set percentage, it's just you simply have to have a program that is open to rental units. The way that it was addressed in the 3rd round was we participate in county programs, they have a homeowner improvement program for, if you're a low and moderate income household, you can apply to them for, let's say, a new roof on your home. County programs across the state do not work with rental units, it's just simply an aspect of the funding that they're using. And so what Flemington did, like a lot of other towns, we set up a municipal rental program so that if you were a landlord and you needed a new roof for your tenants that were low and moderate, you could apply through the county, or for the municipal program and receive a grant or a loan for that. And so that option remains for the borough. We can create that program, we can fund that program, etc. What we could do in the alternative is we could take some of your surplus rental units and put that towards your rehabilitation obligation, because the rules permit you to use typical or new affordable housing units to meet your rehabilitation obligation if towns are so inclined. Most towns don't, but because it's, you just simply participate in a program most of the time. But for the rental component, that's something that some towns do, because creating the municipal rental program can be expensive, it can be a headache for towns. And so given the surplus the town has, I think that this is a very much legitimate option, and it is the path of least resistance. And I am recommending that path. One of the other reasons why I'm recommending it is the rates of participation by landlords in a rehabilitation program are extraordinarily low, because it comes with a deed restriction. You know, so they take the money for, say, the new roof, and then they're obligated to keep their rents low for the next 10 years, minimum of 10 years. And so, and then I think that's furthermore in a town like Flemington. Now, you guys have a very high rental percentage, but most of your rental units are in very a few number of very large projects or significantly sized projects. Landlords in, let's say, the garden apartment complexes taking advantage of a rehabilitation program are, I'm sure it's happened somewhere, but I can't tell you a single town where a landlord has taken advantage of that, because they don't wanna do the deed restriction for 10 years, for all the reasons that we can understand, it's less revenue. And so I think that the municipal program, it could be put in place, but the likelihood of getting any substantial number of rental units to participate is very low. Given that we have this surplus, it seems to me it's an easy opportunity to eliminate the need to create that program and to fund that program. So that is my recommendation, but that is, I mean, I'm happy to make any other changes in here, but in terms of the decision that I need from the borough, that's really it. How would you like to address your rehabilitation program? Do you want to couple county participation with rental units that are already in the bank, so to speak, or do you want to create a municipal rental program in order to supplement that?
We have 59 available. No,
We
we have
have-
how many
You
available?
have 63 surplus
63.
total.
Okay, that includes that, got it.
That's without the East Street House too.
Exactly, yeah, exactly, yeah. that
Which
makes
I
sense.
think has 5 or 7
Great.
occupants in it.
So we might be closer to 70 units of surplus.
And how many do
How
we
many
need for the rehabilitation?
It's 74 total, but you don't need to fully satisfy that because participation in the county program will satisfy
So how
the,
far are we short on?
so there's no, I can't tell you that I need 25% of your rehab obligation to be met with rental. It's typically, typically it's done as part of a settlement agreement, which is not the context that we have here. But when that was the case, it was the number of rental units the town might put towards its rehabilitation program would either be 25%, because that 25% relates to the fourth round or the third round, second round, etc. And it was just applied sort of unprincipally, but it was a number that towns could grasp to in the rules. Or it might have been based upon their rental component in their community. So if you had, 15% rental units in your community, maybe you put 15% of rental units towards your rehabilitation obligation.
So you're suggesting 19?
Yeah,
And the rest would be satisfied by.
Yeah, so I'm saying, we have, I think, 66-ish% rental housing in the town. It doesn't make sense to me that we would put 66% of your rehabilitation obligation as rental units for new construction.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense that we rely upon the 25% rental obligation, because I can point to the nexus in the rules. And I think it's passable. I think there's no set percentage. And so the municipality should have some flexibility on that. And, I don't mean to be flippant about this, but at the end of the day, if the court disagrees, the response is fine. We'll create a municipal program, or I'll pull more surplus units and we'll be done. But there's no opportunity here that I see for a developer to leverage the borough over any of these decisions, whether it has to do with the.
What you're trying to avoid.
Yeah, exactly, whether it's about the cut glass site or the rehabilitation obligation. The goal here is make sure that the borough has control over its zoning and control over how it's gonna meet its affordable housing obligation. And I think that there's nothing in here that endangers that.
Just to be clear, we're currently at just under 64%
64%, okay.
renting versus single family homes. And after the Spice Factory and the Union Hotel project are open, balanced by 117 units at Liberty Village, we will topping 70% rental.
No.
And to put that in perspective, Jersey City's at 61%. It's really out of balance, and our tax assessor said we should be around 25% rental in this town. A town like this in a rural community, 25, not more than 30%, and we are currently at over 63%, heading towards 70.
Yeah, that is really unusual.
Maybe Ray's and Sean want to join with us, and then they can share in the rental. Anyway, that's another question.
So are there any questions about the outline? I want to talk about procedure, dates and things like that, but are there any questions about?
Is that the planning board decision or?
So yes,
So,
yeah, so what I need is for the planning board to adopt a housing plan, which I'm gonna write for you guys very soon.
And just so I understand, we still need that even though we already have all of our. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
there's
that's
no
where I was
changing it.
confused. So our plan as it currently exists has already provided for and we've approved
Mhm.
more than we need, but we still need to go through that whole plan.
That's part of the master plan.
Yes,
Is that the time to address things like what was put in 2022 to tear down all the 2-story buildings on Main Street and put in 4-story rental apartments?
no, we could do that as a subsequent land use element
Okay.
amendment. This is just a housing plan
Okay.
amendment.
So one, two,
Yeah.
we need to do one for this reason.
Yeah.
And we have a deadline too, so we really kind of want to zone in
Okay,
and focus
yeah.
on what we have
What's
to do.
what's the deadline?
Yeah, so June 30th, so I
It has
need
to
an
be
adoption.
adopted.
Yeah, adoption, and it's submitted by June 30th, but
When do you
essentially.
think, Beth, I know you're really busy, yeah, when do you think you're gonna have this
Does it-
very easy towns, very easy co-plan done?
Does it only have to do
It
with
votes
us?
itself.
So, yeah, it does.
We only have that one meeting in
But
June
we
then.
need a public hearing and we need at least 10 days notice, which means we need 15 days notice for the newspaper
Mhm.
When
and
is
adjacent
it?
municipalities and all that stuff.
So your meeting is on, is it?
We can't get an extension on this?
No. Don't get me started. A lot of
Okay.
towns have tried and failed, and the
Wow.
court just doesn't see the need for it apparently.
Oh, is it coming from the court, okay. Where's it?
So 24th.
I still have no comments on that.
24th is normal, yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
For what?
3rd and 24th, I do have both on my calendar.
If it's on the
That's what it's on
website,
the
that's what we
website.
agree.
Now, whether we're canceling the 3rd or we're concerned about the 3rd having a quorum with it being 4th of July. That's not.
No.
No, it's not.
Well,
Small writing.
I know, right?
I'll check the resolution, because we did it as resolution, I'll have it on that.
Well, I have it, they go in my calendar based on the resolution,
Right,
so
okay, so she.
I've
we're
got
gonna
the
go with
3rd and
your
24th.
3rd and 24th.
So this is
Yeah.
just, so the public hearing, can the public hearing be held the same night as the adoption, because it's just a resolution, so it's a once a month.
24th.
Yeah.
So we can do it on the 24th,
Yeah.
which gives you plenty of time to do the advertising and for whoever.
Mhm.
Okay, I vote for that. Yeah, because it's not an ordinance.
What?
We don't need
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
That sounds good.
so
I
I'm
would
gonna
make
make,
it.
yep, so we're gonna do the public hearing on the 24th, planning board, you guys will presumably adopt it. Kara will work to have the resolution done that night. so
Now,
that
the
we
only
can
thing,
sign it.
let's think back a little bit though. So this was my question to you because the people are looking at it differently. The committee, the governing body, then has to review draft ordinances in furtherance of the land use element. Are we
Yes.
going to have any? And if we are, then we may have to do June 3rd because the committee, the mayor and council won't have a meeting after the 24th.
No, I don't have any draft ordinances because we're not creating zoning.
Okay,
The only draft ordinance, to be honest, I haven't decided if I'm gonna, but one, I don't think I need council approval of a draft ordinance. Not that there's not value to having people look at it and make sure they're
and again,
comfortable with
this
it.
is where there's a lot of discussion because some are saying, some affordable housing attorneys, which I am, I know about it, but that's not my lead area, are saying the council must review any draft ordinances, not necessarily introduce,
Mhm.
but review. Some are saying they actually have to introduce. Some are saying they don't have to do anything.
So there
So
is.
that's where I just wanna get a little clarity in case we need to bump that up to June 3rd.
So the background is, we have a new Fair Housing Act that was put into law in March of last year. And it is very poorly written, quite honestly. It is full of things that are inconsistent with the municipal land use law and with practice. And just language that is unclear. And then to add to that, the court issued a directive which was intended to provide procedures for how this process would work. And the directive was inconsistent with the Fair Housing Act and I'll just leave it to that, it was inconsistent with the Fair Housing Act. And so that's part of where this confusion is coming from.
Yep.
I
mean, my recommendation has been if there are ordinances, which doesn't seem like we have here, it's just introduce it. But then that way you're covering all your bases and as long as you do that before the 30th, it has to be a special meeting and so be it.
And
So the
for this
first
town,
introduction only has to be done, it doesn't have to be adopted, is that correct? You said
Correct.
so they can, yeah, right.
and so, but I think that fortunately for you guys, this is less of an issue because I'm not proposing any new zoning. The only ordinance I will be updating for you is your affordable housing ordinance that regulates how affordable units are administered. However, I can't do that either because we have the Uniform Housing Affordability Control Rules, which is like the book of what rules municipalities need to follow for administering their units. That was amended in December last year. However, they're going to be proposing new rules anytime now, at some point. And then they'll go through the typical rulemaking process. And so I don't know what to write. Quite, it's just very simple. I don't know what to write. It's just absurd. And then on top of that, just to add to the chaos, we also have a set of draft rules that were issued by DCA that regulates other aspects of the affordable housing, like the trust fund and some other aspects. Those are draft and those will not be adopted. So
What do you think?
there's that.
We should be okay, we already meet the obligation.
Well, and
Yeah,
that's
let it
like,
go.
thank God you guys are in such a great position. This is much more, these uncertainties are much more problematic for a lot of other towns, but for you guys, you're in pretty good shape.
Right.
So,
You don't have a meeting the 30th, right?
No,
yeah.
I'm not seeing you on
Do you have a meeting on the 23rd?
yes,
Okay. And then the second presumably?
Yes, it's the night, whatever the ninth, the second was the
Yeah.
second Monday, yes.
So I can do we can do the hearing on the third, and then that would give the governing body the opportunity to review the plan. I don't. Another aspect. I'm sorry.
No, it's brutal, that's what I'm saying, it's a nightmare.
So
And we're in such a rush, like, everything has to be done, I don't understand why.
it's almost like we should have found an extension.
Yeah.
But I'm not sour about it.
No.
It's
It's just had no life for the past 6 months.
In addition, so, this is talked about as we need to submit our plan by June 30th, and that is true, but the more nuanced requirement is that we adopt the plan by June 30th and we submit it to the program, the court, within 48 hours of adoption. So as we think about what is possible for council participation, it has to be either before, within 48 hours, or after the fact, as a supplemental submission. Yes, after the fact of your meeting. So we could do the meeting on the third, but I need it submitted by the fifth. Alternatively, we could do the meeting on the.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
what
Let
you're
them
saying.
review it and then do the formal adoption of our planning board resolution on the.
So it's not 48 hours from the 30th,
No.
Based on our action.
it's based on.
Yeah, like
okay,
they've already
I got you.
received, there's a town that submitted that adopted a plan, they've already submitted.
Okay.
But that's
So
like,
why would
that's
we
our
need a
usual
governing
procedure, we
body
would do a
involved?
public hearing and then we do the resolution at the next meeting anyway, wouldn't that match with that plan?
Yeah, but I think it's the night of action.
It's the action, yeah.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, listen, it's very simple because this isn't a, so tonight we're gonna go through the ordinance. I've already prepared that resolution.
Right,
And we'll amend it to add whatever recommendations for consistency you guys may have or none, or whatever the case may be. So, I mean, it's doable, we can do that. It's not like we have a public hearing on an application, it's a completely different story.
So why can't you, Beth, get on the schedule for the 23rd of June and just present it to the council?
and then we
Send it
do-
to them ahead of time so they can do whatever they're gonna do with it, or not, and then.
And then the planning board takes its
Do
official
that at the
action.
hearing on 24th.
I'm fine with that.
Right,
Yeah, I think that works. It would give you guys the opportunity to review things in advance. If you're gonna be reviewing it in advance, I might stick a couple resolutions before you. Which are. I don't feel that strongly about, but if I have a council opportunity, I don't see any reason not to. I think the reality is what's gonna happen in a lot of towns is municipalities, planners are rushing to get the plans done. So that we can get the bare minimum submitted to the court, and there's gonna be follow-up work that occurs over the next couple months for like the odds and ends that just couldn't get gathered, or resolutions that couldn't get done and adopted in advance, and there'll be supplemental submissions. And so but if we can avoid that by me appearing at your meeting on the 23rd.
Because then we've got
Yeah,
all our
23rd.
bases covered, you got the draft ordinance reviewed, you've got the public hearing, you got everything done in 48 hours.
we'd have to have the resolution ready to go that night too.
Yeah.
Which again, that's fine.
And point of order, just for us, I hope this doesn't put Karen on me. I will not be in the country, so Jeff will be able to sign it, I presume, we'll just have to put Jeff on the resolution.
Yeah.
Good.
Alright, so 24th be the public hearing.
Yep, so I'll do council on the 23rd, we'll talk about housing and what's in the plan. I'll be here the following night, we'll do the public hearing on it, I'll ask you guys to adopt it. If you're comfortable with it, you will, and then it'll get submitted to the program within 48 hours.
We'll work on the notice.
I'll let the clerk know.
Do that.
And not that anybody has to cancel their vacations, but let's just make sure that half of the board aren't missing on that day.
On the 24th,
At least,
I'll be here on the 24th, I won't
yeah,
be
at least
able to-
a quorum.
Vacation.
I mean, I would be here, but, as long as everybody else is.
Yeah, let me be really clear, I need folks to at least call in, and I need a quorum that night, this is not.
Yeah, that's
You
what
guys are very good with that, please.
If there's gonna be an issue with not coming, let us know ahead, we wanna keep track on that number of quorum.
I'll call you from the ER.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, just. Wait for it.
Alright, does anybody have any other questions for Beth on that, on the process or anything? I think we've gone through it all, but anybody? Excellent.
That's all I got.
Would it be appropriate to add in, I was gonna ask, and
Don't worry.
Ask Hannah, to talk about the art, and I believe you've been liaising with that, so would it be appropriate to add it in now for her to talk about that?
She isn't liaising it, she's running it.
Yeah.
Alright,
If
well,
she
whichever
is,
way,
yeah.
I'm just like, let's throw it in there, would that be alright? You ready, Hannah?
Yeah, I mean,
Chair, you can do whatever you
so do I just jump in now?
Yes, it's
Right, all right.
well, Anna, you have a flow.
Um,
You have to let everybody know what it is.
yeah, I know, it's like my first time, I'm so sorry, everybody.
No,
I did write
please.
things down kind of.
Well,
And
art
then my
committee,
child,
I
you
understand.
know, yes, and then my
Report on the
child
art
put art
committee.
on it. So, the art committee met on the seventh, last week on Wednesday, I believe that was. And essentially, Beth was kind enough to come in and present to us, the artwork for the courthouse square. Which is essentially, a mosaic on the ground that's pretty much adjacent from where the courthouse is or like Barclays, that area. And yeah, so I did email you just an image of a precursor necessarily because we are still waiting for a couple adjustments back from Keith or
Yeah, Keith Elgar.
yeah.
Over.
But essentially we approved of it. So it's really just a simple image of the courthouse with Flemington, New Jersey, and a circle boundary or border. Yeah, and it's just pretty simple, I would say, but simple but classic. That's really what we agreed on and thought would be best for that. But that is what we approved of, and we just wanted to present it to you guys as a courtesy to give you a heads up on just what we're doing.
When the final rendering comes out, you can share that.
We'll share that with you as well, yeah, so I did send it to you if you wanted to share that or not. It's,
It
don't
all
worry, I
came up,
sent it
wasn't
late,
quite
it's my
sure
fault, no,
what
it's
to
not
say.
doing, so it's gonna be very similar to that, but again, once we get the final, we can definitely share that with you guys, just to show you what we agreed upon.
And this is going, forgive me,
No, yeah.
like, so the open space,
Mhm.
courthouse square comes off Main Street.
Yes,
What, did you give, what's the approximate kind of size of this? You say it's a mosaic,
yes,
About
8 feet wide.
8 feet diameter?
Yes,
Okay.
so yeah, I mean, again, trying to keep it simple, we discussed a couple other images, but once we thought about how big it would be, we didn't want it to be too busy. So yeah, just keeping it simple and classic. And then, yeah, I don't know, the other things we discussed was a new member who we're still waiting to get in contact with. There are some more potential projects to maybe be coming in, but we just haven't gotten applications for them yet, so we're just hearsay. And then we did have one project that fell through, but we were, of the benefit to hear that they really enjoy our application process, so that was nice to hear.
So Robin never responded to anybody's.
Not, I don't think so, no, yeah. Not yet, at least. I know that Tony was trying to reach out to her further, but we have not heard
Okay.
from her, when she was not, unfortunately.
She was pretty excited about the.
Yes. Well, we're welcome to you.
Right.
So that was it. That was our first kind of, or not our first, but our second, third. Gosh, how many meetings have we had? Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, because once,
yeah.
since it's been created, it's an ad hoc.
Yeah, it's
meant to
more,
be,
yeah.
And so we haven't heard from you.
No, yeah, and we're really more, it's like when applications come in, we
Yeah.
have, so we're still waiting for some more to come in, hopefully.
Okay, good, good. Let's see some more art in town. We have a lot of art and artists in town, so good to see that from moving on.
Thank you.
Is that good? Okay. I will, as we're on professional report. Clerico, do you have anything other than what we're?
Yeah, just to follow up on the Liberty Village, they,
Yeah.
about 3 weeks ago, they submitted their first set of bylaws revisions to comply with our comments and conditions of the approval. We're like 95% through that review. They did contact us, they need to make some further modifications to the plan based on groundwater conditions that they're finding, based on the stormwater rules, so they're eliminating one basin, they're modifying the height of one of the basins on Down Street. That's requiring them to make some other modifications for the connection of the existing storm drainage on Brown Street. And they had to make a modification to the last basin out on Route 12 on the east side of whatever they call that street that comes out, I forget the name of the street. So we had a meeting, they had a meeting this morning just for them to explain to us what the changes are as a result of that. Rather than us issue our report based on the plans we had, they're gonna make the modifications to the plans they have and submit it back, and we'll incorporate any further comments we have into one set of, they felt, going back and forth, they thought that was the most efficient way to do it. Now, those plans were also out to your office and to Jay. I don't know that he would have much, well, I'm not sure what comments he would have, but, so that's where they are in the process.
Did they say when new plans might be coming?
No, well, soon, they have copies of what they were gonna change,
Oh,
so,
okay, all right.
and there's a few other glitches they have to deal with, in that, but that's basically where they are in the process.
I just see that there's conversation happening and. Mr. Chapman's not here, so I presume he doesn't have a report, so thank you. We'll move on to new item 7, which is approval of the minutes for basically the last 2 meetings. We're gonna have to catch up on these. And actually, the main thing I'm waiting for is, because I pulled together minutes.
You
for
did.
2 meetings.
Yep.
But it was missing the Novodomus that I thought conflict council said he wanted to write,
Thought
but he
Joe
didn't
was
send it,
gonna
and
do them.
so I
I'll
need to
follow up
check,
with
can you
Joe.
chase up?
He did, I
hate to say,
did see
hey,
his
but you know,
email. Yeah, I did see his email,
we got the resolution, which we're moving on to, but yeah, if he could provide that, or if he wants me to just do what I did with the rest of it, I basically sat on the thing and typed it in while I was doing some other things. So cross fingers, we'll have 3 sets of minutes to look at, because if they're okay with you, we're just gonna, I'll send them.
yeah,
out
so
to
that would
everybody,
be
so
the
they're-
25th of March, the 8th of April, and then the
Tonight.
tonight.
So look forward to that. If you need to fall asleep to those, you can read my minutes. So much fun. Okay, new item, which is another reason why I'm so glad that Carl. Sorry, Carl, you're gonna be busy. I'll have something chocolate around tomorrow. To keep you moving through it. But as you see, being as we don't have the last 2, then, you know, we've got a bit of time. Okay, sorry. Item 8 then, let's move on to this resolution 2025-08, Novodomus, the memorialising the decision taken March 25th. That I distributed that, right?
Yeah, it was exactly what we were.
I thought I wrote it on,
Yeah.
I tried to, I believe that's correct. That's the people that voted on it are allowed to vote on the resolution. We already incorporated, conflict council. I said he didn't need to come and sit to save us money. We already incorporated a comment that came in before the meeting. That's the latest one, incorporates that comment. So I'm not presuming there aren't any comments, because you're at liberty to make comments now, and he will then adjust the resolution accordingly if we need to, or someone can motion to take that vote to memorialise it as it is at the moment. Anybody have anything they needed to raise on that resolution?
And only people who voted in favor of the action taken can vote.
But the favour of the action taken was the denial.
Correct.
Is that correct? So now my list is incorrect then, is it?
Yeah. Oh, it's.
Because it was a 4-3 vote.
Yeah.
I don't.
Sorry, you weren't there. I'm looking at you.
I just wanted to make sure that since he's not here, that it's only the people that.
And anyway, Mr. Doshner is not here anyway. Everyone's gonna have to remember which way they voted.
Yeah.
Who voted, basically, who
Yeah.
voted the same way as me?
Melissa and.
Swingle.
You. No, I voted right, yeah, so I was.
Who voted no? Oh, jeez, yeah. Do you remember what you voted?
I voted yes.
Oh, you voted.
You voted yes, so you're not eligible, sorry. John,
I voted no.
you voted no, so you're in.
I voted no.
So there's only those 3 of us then, because then that means Dennis.
And the motion was to deny, correct?
No,
No, the motion was to.
Deny the decision. Well,
That's important.
I just wanna make sure.
So who can vote? Giffen, Swingle, Eckel, and Hill.
That's it,
Yeah, the people that voted
because it was 4-3.
in favor of the action taken.
No.
It's very confusing. Whoever
People who
voted,
voted to deny it.
Correct.
yes, correct, because that's ultimately what happened.
But the motion was to
Even though-
accept it.
It's okay,
Right.
but the action was to deny, so the people.
Oh,
that
the people
voted-
that voted.
Exactly.
Because
Correct.
The
needed
result,
5,
the
and they only
result.
got
Yeah,
4.
so they voted
English
against
words.
the,
English language.
against the motion, but the action that was taken was the denial, so the people that voted
that way.
Deny.
So only, so there's only three of us eligible to vote there here.
That's fine.
Me, Melissa,
And Don.
Don.
Now we want that.
Yes.
And it doesn't, and it's,
No.
Yes.
Yes.
it has to be a majority of those, or it doesn't matter. it's just
No, no,
whatever.
no,
Well, yeah, it has to, but that's who's here.
Yes.
So that's-
So eligible to vote in this case.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, you got it,
Which is good because all the people.
because I'm
We're
away.
all here.
Excellent. So in that case, if none of us who are eligible to vote have any comments on the resolution itself,
Motion was second.
I'll second.
nobody yet. Melissa Swingle just motioned and Don
Second.
seconded. And I'm the other one.
So is the vote a yes?
We just vote yes.
It
to
just-
the
Yes,
resolution.
yes, yes,
No,
no,
It's a
It's a vote of yes.
Miss Swingle? Yes. Mr. Echo?
Yes.
And Miss Giffen?
Yes.
This is what I'm gonna drink about.
So you're watching sausage.
Right, that's done, that's like, it's a technicality at this point, isn't it? Right, let's move on to new item 9, which is a review of ordinance 2025-13 of council. Right? Which
Yes.
was, can you introduce what it was, please, Karen, for us, so that I don't make a mess of it?
Sure, yeah, it's very simple. It's basically just a change in the tree replacement cost that would be provided to the borough in the event that an applicant was not going to replant a tree, but is going to give money to the borough in order for that tree to be planted somewhere else.
What happened to the distillery one?
We did that last
We
time.
did that.
Oh, you did, okay, sorry.
So it went from, you have
So this is
Went 550 to 900.
Yep, 550 to 900.
The tree, so it's like an increased cost effectively,
Yes,
isn't it?
yeah.
Like,
Correct, and it hasn't been increased since 2005, so it's been 20
Right.
years.
Overdue. Trees went up.
And-
So yeah, it's pretty simple, it's
It's
nothing
gonna,
more
it's
than
gonna put an
that. It's just
application to get a tree, so.
Some changes to the process, the procedure, it's just basically the cost of the tree. So there's
Yeah,
no-
that's literally the
It's just the
only
cost of the tree.
cross out and the only anything, so.
Perfect.
This is, your role here is to determine whether it is not substantially inconsistent with the master plan. Beth?
So our master plan doesn't address the pavement in lieu for trees, so it's certainly not inconsistent in any stretch. There is language in the master plan supporting trees in general and their importance around the borough, so I think that this is not inconsistent with the master plan.
Perfect. Anybody have any questions on that? Any questions,
Yeah, so
Beth's
moved.
opinion on that? I don't. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Can I get a motion
So
to
moved.
approve the resolution?
With no
what are
comments,
we
no
approving the
recommendations,
Um,
no comments, no recommendations,
Yes.
okay.
which
So I
is-
need a motion and a second to adopt a resolution finding that ordinance 2025-13 is not substantially inconsistent with the borough's master plan, and there are no recommendations to the council.
I'll look for-
Oh,
Motion.
I know.
Justin,
okay.
What happened?
I got your back.
Just.
Justin and Hannah.
And who?
Hannah.
Weitzman. Hannah Weitzman. Second.
I'm gonna call you Mr. Justin. Is that
Whatever
correct?
makes it easier.
Ms. Weitzman? Yes. Mayor Carroll? And she vote? Can you
Yes.
vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasara? Yes. Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Giffen?
Yes.
Ms. Weitzman, do I call her again?
No, that's voted
Okay.
already.
Ms. Swingle? Yes. Mr. Schob?
Yes.
Mr. Dashna? Mr. Echo?
Yes.
Mr. Ham?
Mr. Hank can't vote.
Okay.
Just
Reach
appointed,
down.
the resolution was was emailed, let's make sure that Bob has it.
I believe
Yeah, we
it
have to
did.
find out what they are. I gotta put that one in, and I also have to put this resolution in, so we'll find out what the last number is.
For our resolution? I thought
For the one
I added that to
For
it.
Nova, did you add that for Nova?
It's 08.
Okay, so then this one, we just did will be 09.
It was application 01 and it was resolution 08.
So this
I've
one,
been
that we-
making a little list. I went through them.
so this one that we just adopted will be 09. Carla, I'll put in the votes and the numbers.
It's a lot, Hannah, because all the ones we did with the dates of the
Yes.
meetings, all those things, we did like 5 resolutions. Right, excellent. Let's move on to item 10, which is officially listed as completeness and then public hearing for J Mastral application 2025-03. So the completeness part of I'm gonna let Mr. Clerical go through this and we'll run this completeness part should be relatively quick. We did, if you remember, already do a completeness hearing for the vast majority of this
Yeah, April
application.
15th, you did a review, identified a few items as being incomplete, a few items as being temporary waivers. The applicants made a resubmission, the report I wrote as of May 7th, and went through all the file information, the updated information we received, basically as summarized on page 2. That the 5 items that were either incomplete or temporary waivers have now all been addressed. So you can, my recommendation would be if you deem it complete.
Right. Can I get a motion and a second to do such then, please? So that's Swingle and Weitzman to deem this application complete, application 2025-03 complete.
Okay.
We'll call the roll on that, please.
Ms. Swingle? Yes. Ms. Watson? Yes. Mayor Karen? Yes. Councilwoman Sora? Yes. Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Shu?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Reckler?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not that hard.
All right, so then we open the public hearing for the Mastral application 2025-03.
Yep, I'm just going to say for the record that notice has been completed, and the board has jurisdiction to act on this matter.
Thank you. Over to council.
Thank you. My name is Robin Wright. I'm an attorney with Lanza & Lanza, and I represent J Mastral Inc., the owner of 35 Main Street, block 17, lot 11. I have Joe Mastral with me. He's the owner of the corporation. And we're here for a minor site plan approval. Mr. Mastral basically wants to add a 4th apartment to this mixed-use property. He went to the zoning office for a permit and was told he had to get site plan approval for change of use. Basically, there's a conference room that he's changing into an apartment. This is in the DB zone. It's a permitted use. There's no variances needed. There's ample parking. And so I'm gonna, without further ado, I'm gonna ask that Mr. Mastral be sworn in as a witness.
Swear the testimony you're about to give this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
And the only exhibits I would have would be the minor site plan and the architectural plan, which were already submitted. So I don't know if they need to be marked as exhibits or.
No, so we'll mark as exhibit A1, the application and all supporting documentation, and A2 will be the proof of publication and proof of mailing.
Yeah, Kara, because this is a minor site plan, your ordinance doesn't provide for, it's minor site plan without variances, so pursuant to our discussion, we,
Oh, I thought you had elected. to
no,
do
no,
that.
we didn't notice for this because, it's a minor site plan, approvable as of right without a variance, requirement.
Because we do have some pre-existing non-conforming conditions.
Okay, we had discussed that at the last hearing and because this application doesn't exacerbate or worsen any of those nonconformities, it doesn't affect them. And I cited a case, I believe, it's not required to have variances.
Okay,
That's
if that's the
position
position,
we're taking.
I thought we had discussed just out of a.
Yeah.
Case, that's what I thought you were gonna do, but if you decided otherwise, then that's fine.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, Mr. Mastral, you're the owner of your company is the owner of 35 Main Street, correct? And you're the sole owner of the company. And could you describe the building a little bit at 35 Main Street?
So it's basically, it's commercial space on the ground floor, which was my printing company, which is Printac, for I guess about 28 years on Main Street. The second floor has 2 apartments, as well as this conference room. So if you can envision, it was apartment number 2, 1, and this conference room on the second level. And on the third level is 1 apartment. Okay, so I have 3 apartments and then this conference room. So the conference room is basically dead vacant space now. It's on the second floor. Seems like a great opportunity to turn it into a nice rental unit. And it's a permitted use there, so that was the impetus for putting an apartment there. It currently has, in this conference room, it has a kitchenette and a bathroom already. So it was kind of the catalyst for wanting to make this an apartment and to add revenue stream to the building and also give a quality rental unit for the downtown.
And Mr. Stroll, the bottom space, the ground floor of the space is formerly Printec and now it's vacant, correct?
Correct.
And you're trying to find a tenant for this space, correct?
Yes, actively, it's listed with Coldwell Banker. It's been vacant since about last May. We've had a few inquiries, a couple close things. Nothing yet, but we're looking for a good, retail client and or permitted use on the main floor.
And so your intention is to lease it for permitted use, but you're not going to lease it to an office space, correct? That's not your intention.
That's correct.
And that's because, and pursuant to the ordinance, to the borough's ordinance, it wouldn't generate an off-street parking requirement for a permitted use that's not office space, correct?
That's correct.
And you haven't added any floor space to this
No.
building since you've owned it, and you've owned it since what date?
I've owned it since 2003.
Okay, and you leased space in there before that, correct?
Yeah, I moved down to that space in 1996, and I was a renter there for 7 years. And then bought the building from who that was the current owner.
And you're not proposing any changes to the building, to the outside of the building, correct?
Not at all.
This is just interior modification.
Yes, within the same walls that are there.
You have parking to the rear of the building, correct?
Yes.
And the parking is shown on the site plan that we submitted.
Mhm.
And there's about, I think, 27 parking. Well, you have a shared parking agreement with the owner of Shaker's Cafe,
That's
correct?
correct, yes.
Okay, and that was submitted with our application documents, correct?
Yes.
Yes, and there's a total of 27 parking spaces
Right.
for both properties, correct?
Yeah, it's a shared use. We share the maintenance costs of the parking lot, whether it's salting, snow plowing, sealing, striping, what have you.
And the agreement provides that three of the spaces are exclusively for the use of lot 12, which is where the Shaker's Cafe building is, correct?
Correct.
And it also provides that 6 of the spaces are exclusively for the use of 35 Main Street, correct?
That's correct.
And the rest of the spaces are shared, correct?
Yes, for the agreement, yeah.
Okay. So except for those 3 spaces, which are exclusively for Shakers, your tenants have access to the remaining spaces, correct?
Yes.
And I think the residential site improvement standards would apply to this application, and we determined that there are 2 spaces required for each apartment and none required for the bottom space, as long as we comply with your ordinance. And so there's more than 8 spaces that are available.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And there's no issues with the parking to the rear of the building, correct? And there's always ample.
Absolutely, yes.
I want to address, and you retained Jeff Fleischer as your architect, and he's going to prepare more detailed floor plans, correct?
Yeah, he's done an initial floor plan, which has been submitted, and once this is approved, then the next step would be the construction piece of that.
Okay, and you're going to obtain all permits that are required, or construction permits.
Of course.
Referring to Mr. Clerico's letter, Mr. Clerico sent a letter, I think on May 7th. Item number 5, He said that additional detail relating to the striping and the ADA space to the rear of the building should be provided. Do you have any problems with providing additional detail that Mr. Clerico is seeking?
No, not at all. We're gonna reseal and stripe the parking lot, and whoever we contract with at that time, I would get a drawing for you to review. As needed.
And could you also discuss how trash is handled on the site?
Yeah, so there's two pads in the parking lot for the trash and recycling pickup. They are directly across from each other. One set is for the Shaker property, one is for the 35 Main Street property, which is mine. They're located where they are to best utilize the parking lot so that because they don't take up as much space as a parking space, it allows for the incoming traffic to pass through the parking lot without being encroached by a parking spot. So they are strategically placed where they are for that reason. So that's, why they are placed where they are. They're easily accessible for the tenants, both the commercial and the residential tenants. It's very important for the garbage and recycling company to be able to pull in there and get to them easily, so that's another reason they're there. The dumpsters are locked and secured, as far as that goes, and that's pretty much what I can say about the garbage.
And it's on lot 12, correct? But
Yeah, both sets are on lot 12, but it is a shared use lot, so yes.
and you said you first started leasing property around 1996 or 1997?
1996.
That was the Printec.
Yeah, Printec moved in there in 1996.
Okay.
And those dumpsters have been there ever since then,
Okay.
and prior to that, probably.
Okay, so it's been there for about 30 years at least, almost 30 years.
Yes,
Just under with no issues.
correct.
Okay, I have no further questions for the witness, and I turn it over to the board.
Okay, yeah, we usually go to our professionals first, so, Bob, would you have any questions for this one?
No, they will address basically the only comments I had. They are gonna restripe, actually, it looks from the plan, they're actually moving the striping somewhat from what it was least represented. The striping is out there, is pretty much faded in to start with. So the suggestion of resealing would just be a practical matter, and as the applicant indicated, they're gonna do that. And then restripe the spaces. The issue of the dumpsters, they just confirmed that the dumpsters are on the dumpster pads and the dumpsters are on the adjoining property. But there's apparently an arrangement to allow that to occur, so. And it's clearly there's clearly currently documented inner access and parking arrangements they have between the two properties, so. The back of this property has I believe it's listed anyways, it's a borough alley that goes out to, what would that be, out there, Captain Street? And it connects with the adjoining county parking lot, so there's a lot of interconnection between the parking lots behind those buildings. I don't have any further questions.
Beth, you have any?
I have no questions. I just had one question about the trash and they answered that during testimony.
Just two, I didn't see a copy of the parking agreement. You don't have it.
Oh, yeah, I do have
Have
that.
that for you.
Yeah.
And is there a specific arrangement for the dumpsters and trash pickup and all that stuff? Is there something in writing or that's just?
No, I don't believe that's in with that agreement. It's just kind of like, I don't know how else you would say it, just adopted where they were at. It's never been an issue and it's works great.
And you share the cost of pickup?
Well, they
or it's
pay for
reasonable
their,
or-
the Shaker pays for their, they use
Dumpster.
for public services.
Okay.
And I have recycling and garbage on my pad, and mine is LMR pickup, so two different companies.
Yeah, the agreement doesn't address, it's just an understanding. Do you want a copy of it?
Yeah, I don't have one. I mean, if you can ultimately send me one too, I just want to see
Okay.
it, look at the termination.
We can make that item.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll mark this, I guess it was one of the submitted items. I just.
Yeah, we submitted with the,
Was it? Okay.
with the title documents, it was, a packet of easements and restrictions.
Yeah, that's probably, this shoe probably. Yeah, those are the only questions I have, the board can go ahead
Okay.
and take a quick look at that.
Alright, so anybody on the board with any questions? I'll go from, I'll start with Mr. Jason, Justin. He didn't even get his name right.
Last name right.
Oh.
Man. Stop.
Don't apologize, Mr. Schlinger, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just a couple comments. So the existing floor plan has a break room, correct?
Yeah,
That's getting moved to the adjacent wall, creating a kitchen there. Is that gonna be electric or gas?
so where the kitchen's going to go, where it's proposed,
Correct.
it hasn't been decided yet,
Okay,
because I haven't gotten that far with Mr. Fleischer.
okay.
Is there a preference there? I'm thinking electric.
Electric would be great.
I'm thinking electric as well for the HVAC as well.
Yep.
In my mind,
Fantastic.
so that's fine by me.
The bathroom up there consists of a powder room right now. It's being expanded into a full bath,
Correct,
with a shower.
yes.
How is that stairway being, relooked? Is that stairway being moved or is going into the storage room? I see the entrance to the storage room is being closed off, the shower's putting at the end there. Toilet's moving over to the side and this. And the sink is being put there, and that's gonna be all ADA compliant?
Again, I haven't gotten that far with Jeff. There's,
You're not gonna need any compliance with the stairwell.
yeah, there's a stairwell there. so-
No, wait a minute, there's, you have to put,
elevator back
you have to put a whole
Yeah,
elevator.
there's
Yeah.
no.
That's right. Those are my only, those are my only two.
Okay. Mr. Zoll?
Thank you. For looking around at the outside of the building, on the second floor and the third floor. And they're running fire, it seems silly. How do people get down? I was trying to see.
So there's plenty of windows in this conference room. There's probably, I don't know, 8 across that. And then outside of those windows is a flat roof. That's probably maybe from here to there wide.
And
And then there's a stairwell that you can get, that you can access.
so everybody on the second floor can get out.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that was my only concern.
My only question is, you said that the garbage is locked, your tenants have keys for it?
Yes, it's, no, it's, I'm sorry, it's a combination.
They all have it,
Yes, of course.
okay.
Oh, yeah. No, it's locked so that no one,
No, something, no, I get it.
yeah, uses it, yeah. But yes, they have.
No, my questions were upstairs in the kitchen were answered, so.
There you go.
Yeah, I was just more concerned about like fire safety a little bit, but yeah, is there no fire report yet, or is that something that? does it need to
We've
be?
gotten that.
Well, they have to they have to comply with all construction code and zoning codes anyways, and code, so
Yeah.
that
That
gets
comes
swept up by
later.
that. Our construction office will not issue a certificate of occupancy without that.
Right,
That's not our job to do.
no, right, I just, I'm like, when do we ever see a fire up, when something oftentimes.
Mainly it's like when access for a fire truck or things like
Right,
that.
and we
we're
already
looking-
have that,
Yeah.
yeah.
usually what we're looking
And
at.
now if there is any change that needs to happen to the building in order
Right.
for it to comply, we may see them again, but
Yeah.
hopefully not.
Yeah,
Right.
construct,
Okay,
yeah.
right, okay, no, that was.
Otherwise, that's covered with
But
that.
Hannah, shame on us if we don't ask questions.
Not right.
Nothing wrong with asking
I'm sorry.
questions. I didn't mean to make anybody feel they couldn't. I'm just saying,
No,
so that
thank
you
you. No,
comfort, that's,
absolutely.
it does get covered.
No, thank you.
They have to comply. It's part of our resolution, we have that on the resolution, comply with all state and local. Hey,
Good.
awesome. Nice to hear. Right, let's go online. Mr. Show,
I have no questions, thank you.
great. And then Mr. Campion, last but not least.
No, pretty straightforward here.
Okay, great. And Don,
No,
Pat
no.
was online because I'm looking at the screen, sorry.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, great. And I don't have any questions, and, you know, no, I don't have
Wow.
questions.
Can I just make a comment about fire in that building?
Sure. Let's make comments at this point.
It's
Yeah,
a history
well,
lesson.
Okay.
Where the Shaker Cafe is, there was an alley. And one car was wide. And on the other side of that alley was Blair's apartment building. And in 1968, that wooden building, 3 stories high, burned to the ground. And Printex building Wellington Fire Company just hosed it down, but that was all block. And it had no damage to it, so I'm not worried personally.
Witness it out.
So it was a historic fire. Mrs. Blair died in that fire.
I've heard a little about that, but I didn't know that detail.
All the tenants came out safely.
Wow.
Miracle.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that. All right, so is that all of your witnesses?
Just Mr. Mastrul, it's just adding an apartment building, an apartment to an existing multi-use, building with a residential on top, commercial on the bottom. It serves the interests of Mr. Mastrul, obviously, but also of the borough, which I think wants residences to walk, people to walk around and, patronize the businesses on Main Street. So I would ask for approval of the site plan.
Just before you do your final word, I'll say, does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness and this application? We'll go ahead and say that. I don't see anybody with a raised hand online, and I don't see anybody in the public gallery.
No questions, comments, anything.
Yeah, any questions? Yeah, we might as well do questions and comments for everybody at this point, because it's such a small, simple one. Anything, you can do anything at this point now before we close up the final statement. Anybody? Being none, we will move, your final statement, I guess, almost made it, I can.
No, I'm just, I asked for approval of the application.
Okay, so then we need a motion to close the public hearing.
A second.
Echo, there's no echo. We call the roll for closing the public hearing.
Well, Councilwoman Source? Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Giffen?
Yes.
Ms. Weitzman? Yes. Ms. Swingle? Yes. Mr. Schob?
Yes.
Mr. Justin? And do I call anymore? Mr. Ryan?
Nope.
No, Mr. Haynes, sorry, Mr. Haynes. All right, so now it's our official board discussion time. So I'm gonna ask if there's any discussion needs to be had for what reasons, what we need to write our motion for this application. Is there any sense there may not be much discussion needed?
So if it helps, I can say the applicant is applying for minor site plan approval to do what they described to the board. I would recommend, there's been testimony that there's been absolutely and not going to be any external changes to the building or the property. But there are some pre-existing nonconformities, so I think we should wrap that in to this, and grant the variances from those pre-existing nonconformities. Specifically, that's lot width, minimum lot width is 45 feet, they're at 22.17. Minimum front yard setback, they're at 25 feet, 25 feet is required, they're at 2.41. And maximum pervious surface is 75%, they're currently at 99.15. Conditions that the board may want to consider are standard conditions, and they're bound by all testimony and documents submitted. They testify that they have a dumpster arrangement with the adjacent property owner and that it works fine. Compliance with any additional comments in the board reports, compliance with all state and local permitting and the approval requirements. Keep the escrow and any fees current. And the only thing that I would suggest, I saw that in the parking agreement, it says that it is recorded. So anybody that will own these properties going forward, it will come up in title. It is applicable to successors and assigns going forward, but there is a provision where it can be amended based on agreement between the parties. So I would just say that if that parking agreement is ever amended and provides for less than the parking spaces that you're currently providing for, then you have to let the board know that. And then they may ask you to just come back in and testify as to the parking arrangements.
And it probably doesn't matter on the front yard setback, but there was a alternate provision in the ordinance that says
Yeah.
25 feet or we match the adjoining and they match the adjoining. Again, we're not going into the weeds on variances, but they may not need that one anyway.
Okay.
So we could just,
Acknowledge what they're doing.
you could just add wording in and we know that they match the agreement.
It appears, I would say.
Appears-
That's why I didn't do it, because I wasn't sure,
Right.
but it's okay.
Yeah,
I
and,
could put
Just to
that.
cover that, those two bases that way.
and I just, the changes are insubstantial from a zoning perspective, where non-conforming structure is expanded in the addition. We're not even expanding a non-conforming structure, but if we're not adding to the pre-existing conformity, the, you know, according to Sherman versus Borough of Harvey Cedar Zoning Board of Adjustment, you know, there's no need for a variance, where we're simply doing something that is permitted.
I'm actually doing it for him, so he's got in writing that these
Okay.
were granted, so if you go to sell and someone's
Sure.
wondering, and at least it's there, so I totally agree with you,
Mhm.
but since it's before us, you might as well put it on there, it'll help you.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that too, thank you. Might as well get it belt and braces right now for the applicant, we're clear. All right, having said that, then can I get a motion to that effect?
I'll second.
That's Swingle and Weitzman. And we'll call the roll, a yes vote is to deem it. Approved.
Approving the minds.
Sorry, been a lot, 1 2 weeks.
You ready, Ms. Wingle?
Yes.
Ms. Weitzman?
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasara?
Yes.
Mr. Campion?
Yes,
Ms. Giffen?
Yes.
Mr. Show?
Yes.
Mr. Justin?
Give it a try.
William-
Thank you.
Sam and Jason, anyway.
Mr. Eckel?
Yes.
Stop there.
All right,
Thank you.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Joe, I've known you for 30 years, I always thought it was Mastro, is it not Mastro?
It's Mastro.
It's
and I'm
Mastro.
sorry, I said it wrong so many
Listen,
times as well.
it's been Mastro forever, as far as anybody's concerned, there was an O at some point, and it was Mastro. That's where that Mastro comes from,
There we go.
it's commonly spelled wrong with
Oh,
one
you're
L.
always silent now, you're always silent now, but
Exactly.
if we mention it then we get it right. Thank you.
Here's my,
Call me anything, it's fine.
what happened to my grandfather's desk?
It's gone.
Gone.
It was pretty beat
Pretty
up,
beat up.
very beat up.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. All right, moving on. New item 11 is chair items, woo, it's me, yes, and I'm a little calmer this week, as you see. I put newsletter on here because I have a deadline, what's my deadline? 23rd.
It's, yeah, it's coming up.
23rd, we can put a piece in the magazine that came out. And I didn't achieve the deadline last time because you see how much grey, yeah. But I'm gonna try and put something in. If anybody has any urgent ideas of what we want to put in, otherwise I'll just write a piece and say how wonderful we all are and what wonderful work we're all doing and what we're planning, and just, I'll work something out. If anybody has any ideas, send them to me. Fair enough? If I write anything technical, I'm gonna send it to you ladies to make sure I don't say anything incorrect. Because I don't ever wanna say anything incorrect.
No.
Except Mr. Schlenger's name. Apologies, my cousin's Jason, I have 2 cousins and one's Jason, so the J just came off my house, so sorry. What I did, I wanna add into chair items, I will confirm committees will restart as per the mayor's request, thank you to our budget being passed. We will do the rules and regulations one that you recommended, and also, the signage review committee. I did ask in the interim on the QT, Planner McManus she wrote a report. So now what I will do this week is I will send that out to that committee for them to review her report. She wrote a very encompassing report about what the issues may be and what we can consider, and that will be our kick point for that, and we'll get that moving, just throwing that out there, yeah. So then, that's not next on my list, Mr. Schlenger went to his official training. And passed, trained up to be on planning board, and I asked him to, because for some of us, it's been quite a while since we did training. And some of us didn't get to do in-person training, so I asked Joseph.
Right.
We sent him to a thing.
Carol was there. You remember?
Like, I would say that.
No, that was a bad.
She read my line, nobody else heard it.
And just for watching my.
I said she didn't, I said Carol didn't recognize it, but she thought he was Jason. She
Yeah.
Right down the line.
Wait, I'm so sorry.
I can't believe you got to do it in person.
It was great, I mean, doing it in person, I did, it was very long, but I did it.
First one, we already did it out.
No,
So happy
but the
about
first
that.
time I did it, it was in person, and it was really worthwhile, and the
It
second
was
time.
very
It
worthwhile
was
for
online
someone
and it
who
was
doesn't have
wasting my life.
experience on the planning board and they're all new planning board members there. I mean, it was really beneficial, just to, it was just one day, 7:30 to 3:30 or whatever it was, but it was fantastic. I mean, we got, you know, pretty much got an overall view of what the planning board is doing.
Where did
And we didn't
they?
scare you off enough and you came back.
I'm just so glad they're back in person. 'Cause
You know,
online was
differentiation
great.
between a planning board and a zoning board and.
Right.
you know.
Were you teaching?
Yeah, we did it at Raritan Valley.
Yeah.
It was part of Somerset County's
Bar association.
symposium,
Okay.
land use symposium,
Yeah.
they made this as part of it. And I mean, the location was great, it was very easy.
Yeah.
Great,
I'm just-
really
I'm
nice,
just glad it's back in person, because that
comfortable,
online
it's a
was
good
exceptional.
format.
Yep.
It was a very good range of speakers and the format went, you know,
Good, I'm glad.
very
glad to hear
consistent,
that.
so very good feedback, yeah.
Wonderful.
I really enjoyed it.
Find out.
Learned a lot,
Good.
yeah.
I don't you have any suggestions for how to do things better? Please, oh my God, really caught me. Please let us know. I'm glad I'm glad you got to it.
I'm so happy.
It's better, because if you interact with other people, you get a feel for what you're
Yeah.
doing a little more.
Yeah.
We'll find out who's gonna be doing all the rules, correct? You can confirm.
That was really, really great,
I'm
really.
really so glad.
Thank you for letting us know about that. Anybody has any questions about how to run a planning board, contact Mr. Schlenger.
Jason. That's gonna be like forever.
The bad thing is, sorry, personal note, my mum, like, there's only three, I have two cousins, that's it, that was it, that was the three grandchildren. But I spent my life being called Jason, because because there was Jason, Ian and Karen, and I was like, grandma, my name's not Jason. So I guess, I'm so sorry, I've passed that on now.
Exactly.
Is that the only one we're required to take?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, you're done,
We
you're
don't have to do any
trained
more
for life now.
continuing education.
Not the number.
You were trained for life, and also there were copies, Carla left us, these are copies of the planner came in.
Those are great, I would definitely take
And
all of them. and just read
here's
that.
what you can look, here's what I want you to project to like, going to work on, is we're going to try and beat this, Mr. Julius Lober Junior has become the longest serving planning board member in New Jersey. He's been serving for 63 years
What town?
See.
for the borough of Franklin Lakes, New Jersey.
Oh, really? It's all simple.
He's been chairman for 18 years, vice chairman for 27 years, and a member for the remainder. I can't do that.
Oh, I work for Franklin Lakes,
Oh,
one of my clients.
Oh, so you know him.
Yeah, so he'll sit on the board and be like, oh, I remember when we approved that, and now it's coming back in for redevelopment
Right.
50 years later.
Wow.
And he probably, like, you remember
Oh,
what was
sorry.
there before they approved the other one as
Oh,
well,
yeah.
right now, oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Existing non-conforming uses are. Do you remember this growing up? Yes, I do. And I was like, okay.
Oh my God.
That's me.
Just have to write down everything he knows, and that's that's pre-existing use.
Yeah.
Whatever he says is the
If Jules
pre-existing.
doesn't know it, you're
That's
out.
You're in trouble.
Okay.
Nobody can get anything past him,
No,
right?
no.
Oh my gosh, that was
That's
amazing.
hysterical.
Wow.
Just be the mascot.
So that's just our goal. That's our goal.
Lifetime memory.
Less than 1 year in,
Lifetime
62
memory.
to go.
There we go.
There we go.
We
All
took
right.
it out of my house in a pine box anyway.
Does anybody have anything else they want to raise as a chairman? Alright. So let's move on to new item 12, which is the bills. Woohoo! We have got organised enough through the bills. These are the bills, I believe, from everything from when we last did bills to now. So we've got on with. So, can I have a motion? Those were in, I think I sent them out yesterday, I lost track.
Yeah.
So we had a day with them, but they're also here if anybody wants to flick through. So can I get a motion to audit the bills, please? Swingle.
Pick a number.
Second.
Schlager, second. Call, we have to call roll on that one, right? You can't do it.
Yeah, that's money.
Technically, it's not, but.
Well, it's,
Call
call roll on that one, please. Carol.
Oh, call roll.
Yes.
I didn't know what you were saying.
On auditing the bills, I'm sorry,
Ms. Swingle? Yes. Schellinger. See, I'm gonna say Schellinger. Sorry.
Yes.
almost there.
Mayor Carroll.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasara.
Yes.
Mr. Campion.
Yes,
Tiffin.
Yes.
Mrs. Weitzman.
Yes.
Mr. Show.
Yes.
Very
Mr.
quiet.
Eckel.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Item 13, we need to go into executive, no, we do not need to go into executive session, thank you. So, all right, can I get a motion to adjourn? Excellent, all in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you very much, Carla. I'm sorry that you.
I'm gonna work on it.
Oh, no, it's not. We're very. So I usually, my husband will have some, there I feel well, we haven't been there. Oh, no, we're good for a dog.
Yeah, we go into. Oh, I need to.
Okay, all right,